Stan Smith has been a very conflicting character from the very first episode of American Dad. He's always quick to shoot first and ask questions later. Despite his issues, Stan does come out ahead when compared to many other dads and husbands in animation. But if we were to look only at the world of American Dad, is Stan Smith a good father? Stan and his methods slowly escalated as the show progressed. In the first season, he reacted to Haley's green dye job by cutting all of her hair in her sleep. In the following season, when the former President Bush came over for dinner, Stan went to extreme lengths to try and keep Haley from embarrassing him. He dropped her through trapdoors, locked her in the basement, and shot her with a tranquilizer. Of course, this wouldn't be as bad as what Stan was revealed to have done in season 3. It was here that we learned that Stan had been brainwashing Haley as a child, in the hopes of making her an agent like him. And when Haley tried to forge her own path, Stan stated her sleeper agent phrase to try and force her to get married.
I'm getting fed up with this orgasm!
Agent Small Wonder activated. What are my orders?
A few episodes after that, Stan had his first experience with death and the afterlife. While on the hunt for the perfect Christmas tree, Stan eventually left his family in the car to wait for him as he went out of his way to cut down what he considered to be their perfect tree.
Perfect tree.
While dead, Stan demanded a second chance and to be sent back to his family, only to be put through a trial that proved how he was a horrible husband and father. Stan then snapped again when his angel explained that his family would soon join him in heaven since he left them in a freezing car without the keys. Season 4 opened with Stan being exposed for using a special goo to send his family off on an imaginary vacation. He had explained that it was something he had done every year in order to avoid his family for a short while. While we can sympathize with the idea of getting some alone time, it was messed up that he kept it going for so long. In episode 16 of season 6, Stan once again fixated on trying to make Steve a man. This time around, Stan decided the best way to make Steve assertive was to bully him, thinking it would toughen him up.
Well, I'm gonna mount this and ride it hard. Like I did your mom last night.
Aside from the fact that bullying your child is on another level of abuse, Steve was picked on enough in school. In season 7, Stan had yet another method to build Steve up and grow closer, to pretend to be a hot girl through the avatar system at the CIA. When Steve was still becoming distant from Stan, even with the use of the avatar, Stan's response was to let Steve have sex with Phyllis. Not only is this a depraved way to try and connect with your child, but Stan had effectively ruined a potential relationship Steve could have had. Later in the season, in the episode Old Stan in the Mountain, Stan's slowly developing dementia and paranoia led to him nearly killing both Haley and Steve. Even though his kids were going out of their way to help Stan reverse the curse against him, Stan was seen making multiple attempts on their lives, including trying to light them on fire. In season 8, Stan was shown to be aggressively critical of Snot. When forbidding Steve from hanging out with Snot anymore didn't work, Stan decided to stage Snot to witness a fake murder to justify hiding Snot away under the guise of being in the witness protection program. Whenever Steve mentioned how much he missed Snot, Stan just brushed off his son's concerns and kept Steve's letters hidden so Steve thought they were sent off. When Steve found out what was happening, he found Stan and Snot acting like best friends. In an effort to fill the void of not growing up with a best friend, Stan decided to try and strong-arm Steve out of the picture and was in competition with his own son to get Snot's friendship. In season 11, Stan attempted once again to find something he and Steve could bond over. This eventually led to the two of them being at the bowling alley, where Steve showed to have a natural talent. Stan had initially been excited about them finally having something to do together, but when Steve got too successful and gained too much attention, Stan decided to stab Steve in the leg to prevent his son from pursuing a career in professional bowling. That is a lot of trauma to put a kid through just because you're scared of growing apart. A couple of seasons later, in The Mural of the Story, Stan put all of his effort into redoing the inspiring mural displayed on a neglected part of Langley. When Stan proved to have done more damage than good, the town couldn't make any sense of it. The logic that followed was that Stan loved the mural, and so must have been sabotaged. That escalated to the town turning completely on Haley, assuming she hated the mural, so she must have done something to destroy all of Stan's hard work. Haley begged time and again for Stan to come clean about what happened. times, but Stan was more concerned with avoiding the backlash. He attempted to put a band-aid on the situation by taking Haley for ice cream. When the town was still being aggressive towards her, Stan decided the best way for Haley to show her face around town again was to change her face. Of course, in typical fashion, Stan completely overestimated his own abilities, and he wound up damaging Haley's face to the point where she became grotesque. Enough so that Stan then created a hideaway for her in the garage. In My Purity Ball and Chain, Stan expressed fear about giving Steve the sex talk, and so jumped at the chance to blow off the talk by making Steve pledge to be a member in a chastity group. When Steve wound up connecting with a young woman that was also in the group, Stan got creepy in an effort to not only avoid the talk, but keep Steve in the group so that Stan could stay a knight of chastity. Stan has been seen wiping his family's memories multiple times, including the episode centered around Stan trying to have the perfect Father's Day, which not only led to the family losing months of their lives dedicated to him, but then further traumatized them during the drip to get the memory eraser after verbally tearing them down in a way a parent shouldn't do over a simple holiday. All of these should be more than enough to state simply that Stan is nothing more than a selfish man and horrible father. But this is where we have to bring up why we're conflicted on how he really stands as a parent. When he cut off all of Haley's hair, he was seen supporting her stripping and offering her to come back home. Though Stan wanted Haley to get married and used her sleeper phrase to force her, he did try to make it so she got back her free will. Cornered by Haley with a gun to his head, Stan gave a heartfelt apology to her, accepting that she needed to kill her handler to get back her free will. Upon realizing his family was going to freeze to death, Stan challenged God himself to get his second chance and get back home to his family. This wouldn't be the only time that Stan went above and beyond to be reunited with them either. In these odd timeline episodes, Stan was always shown to regret any wrongdoing against his wife and children. Even when he learned that Steve, Haley, and Francine were his cautionary family, Stan bent reality to find a way home to them, and even managed to get them the gifts they really wanted. Though Stan doesn't fully understand his kids or their interests, Stan typically found a way to meet them halfway, or learn from them. Stan did eventually embrace Steve being friends with Snot, and the friendship, and the fact that Steve wasn't the tough guy Stan thought he should be. Steve even had his own way of accomplishing things, including dealing with Stan being a bully. Stan had told Steve after being beaten by Stelio that he respected his son's methods.
I gotta hand it to you, Steve. You overcame your bully in your own way. It's not my way, but I respect it.
Steve's detective skills led to him realizing that Stan was the one who stabbed him, and the two opened up. Stan revealed that the idea of Steve becoming a success was frightening, thinking it meant that they would be torn apart just when they were beginning to really bond. Steve responded with the explanation that he was only looking to have a career as a professional bowler to earn his dad's respect and approval. When Stan revealed the redone mural once again, he decided to dedicate it as an apology to Haley. Thinking she was in a coma and feeling guilty, he came clean to the entire community, explaining that he let Haley take the blame for his mistake, and now he was trying to make up for it. After seeing how Steve reacted to seeing girls, Stan regretted sending Steve to sex aversion therapy, and immediately worked to fix his mistake. He stood up against all of the other fathers in the group, ending up horribly injured, all while explaining that they were going about sex all wrong. He had spent the last moments of the episode apologizing for not being upfront with Steve and his natural curiosity. In spite of Stan's flaws, Haley and Steve have a lot of love and respect for him. Yes, they all give each other crap, and they disagree on a lot, but never to the point where they stop caring about one another. Steve went out of his way to hunt down the one piece of the DeLorean that Stan was missing, only for Stan to give the door away as an excuse so that he could spend more time with Steve. During an outing when Haley and Stan took a trip to see the Bazooka Sharks, the two were nervous about the idea of being on their own without any social buffer. But the two managed to not only bond, but they averted the plans to blow up the arena, saving hundreds of people. In this episode, Haley vented about the fear of boring her dad because of how little she was doing with her life compared to him. Stan assured her that he was only upset because he felt like he had to constantly be teaching her things. But Haley proved time and time again that she didn't really need Stan or his advice like she used to. When Stan had been cursed to be an old man, Steve and Haley had gone through numerous books and movies to gain as much information on curses as possible. Though they weren't certain that climbing a mountain was the way to do it, they were willing to try if it meant giving their dad his life back. By the end of the episode, when Stan turned into a black man, Haley and Steve were shown to still be willing to help. This was even after Stan nearly killed them in his paranoid state. Though Haley is vocal about her viewpoints and encouraged Stan to at least consider her side of things, she was the only one who was suspicious when Stan returned from being kidnapped. Haley found the evidence that he was brainwashed and broke through to him by reminding Stan of all that they disagreed on. There had also been an early episode in which, after feeling guilty of Stan being shot, Haley was willing to put aside all of her beliefs to play music for the NRA amusement park. When Stan saw how hurt Haley was, he not only sang her anti-gun song with her to show his support of her, but moved to take yet another bullet, this time saving Haley. When Avery tore into Haley for dumping him, Stan snapped and nearly killed the man to defend his daughter. In a later season, upon learning that Haley may not be his daughter, Stan turned down the chance to find out if he really was her father. He expressed to his past self that regardless of DNA, he cared for Haley and the details didn't matter. So long as she got the kidney she needed, Stan didn't need to know. Stan's made a lot of mistakes, but there are also many occasions where he is understanding and a great father. Until next time, take care.